Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Changing the Climate podcast. Of course, as you know, this show is brought to you by Climate Change Realty, the only real estate brokerage that donates 50% of its commissions to nonprofits dedicated to fighting climate change. If you are looking to create climate action on your next real estate transaction, all you have to do is visit ccrealty.org, and we will find you an agent in your area who's willing to offer 50% of their commissions to help save the planet. Now let's dive into the podcast. Tegan, really great to meet you, man. Thanks so much for taking some time to come on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
You got it, man. And we always like to get the podcast started with some background on who you are and how you got to be doing what you're doing at the current moment.
Yeah, so my name is Tegan. I'm from New York. I also lived in Silicon Valley for a little while. I've been studying computer engineering and industrial design. Been working in startups for about the past 10 years. So I like to say I've never had a real job. I've been working on kind of building ideas and trying to take them from scratch and kind of grow them into some bigger, cooler things. So that's been a lot of fun. In 2020, a company I had been working on building for about probably, I don't know, 2.5 years. We were supposed to close our first big investment. I was finally supposed to make it. Get a little over $1 million in funding. And that was in March of 2020. The same week I was supposed to get the money, COVID shuts everything down, right? And all of a sudden, instead of having a budget to work with and all kinds of cool stuff, I had to redefine what I was working on and what it was all going to be about. And I think, like a lot of people during that time, we kind of did some soul searching on what we want to do with our time and life, and that was kind of the birth of Worthmore, the current company I'm working on.
Gotcha. And what did you go to school for originally?
So I studied computer engineering and industrial design. Actually, ironically, the thing that I wanted to do back in the day was design the next iPhone. So I thought it would be so cool to help design the thing that we, is in everybody's pockets and is an integral part of so many people's lives. I thought it would be really awesome to be like, yeah, I helped build that and make that a possibility.
So when you say the next iPhone, you don't necessarily mean like a phone. It could be like a computer chip in your brain or like a Google Glass type thing. You just want it to be on the forefront of innovation kind of thing?
Well, I mean, at that time, that was the forefront of innovation. I mean, this was back in 2010, right? So yeah. So when I said the next one, I wanted to be on the iPhone 5, the team that built that,
Okay.
and of course, being I'm very entrepreneurial and I like to be on the forefront of tech and this kind of thing. But back then, it was new and novel.
It was, man. No, I remember when the iPhone 5 came out. I think it was iPhone, and then it went straight to like iPhone 3G. And then 4 and the 5 was a big improvement. I think it's a little bit more incremental these days, but I guess it depends on the year. I remember I got the 5 and I was like, whoa, this thing is really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what was the first startup company that you were working for? If you said you worked for several.
So the first that was my own, or the first I was working for, because they're slightly different.
The first you were working for. Yeah.
Yeah, so the first that I was working for, I did a little bit of work with Pebble, the smartwatch company. So that was pretty interesting. I was part of their design team and things like this. This was also before smartwatches were a thing, like Apple Watch and Android Wear. They weren't out yet, and they were launching a Kickstarter for wearables, and that was out in Silicon Valley. I've also worked at a company that was called ID Tech Camps. They're not really a startup, I would say. They're just a couple of years old, but they grew to the largest tech camp for kids and teens across the United States. They put their camp was held at the Ivy League schools. So I was actually director of the camp at Stanford University, where I was managing about 5,000 kids and 80 staff members as they went through learning about STEM skills over the summer. So that was a lot of fun.
Definitely. And then how did you eventually find yourself in Denmark? Did you do some sort of study abroad when you went to school, or how did that end up coming about?
Yeah, no, it's funny actually. My program at university had a study abroad program in Copenhagen, but I wasn't rich enough to afford it, so I didn't go to the study abroad program, which is ironic. Now I live here, right? But no, what happened was I met a Danish girl actually, and so Just
Oh,
met
there we
her
go.
while she was yeah, she was traveling, and then we kind of connected, talked back and forth online for a while, and then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna actually I didn't even have a passport. I was like, I'm gonna get my passport and I'm gonna go out and check out Denmark. Yeah, and I just sort of I came on New Year's. Denmark on New Year's is completely insane. Fireworks are legal, and they like are exploding them in the middle of the street, and everybody's having a big party. And so I was like, wow, this country is awesome. I love it here. So it was a great time and a great introduction to Europe and different culture shock. And yeah, I sort of fell in love with yeah, both the country and the girl, and then decided to move out to. A year later, I moved out to Denmark after we had dated long distance for a year. So that was the journey. Yeah,
Oh,
it was a bit
that's so
crazy.
cool. No,
Thank you.
no, it's not crazy. I mean, well, you're talking to someone who is crazy, so I guess that my
Yeah.
perspective doesn't really matter. But I think that's like the coolest, most awesome story ever. You met this girl while you were where were you traveling when you met her?
No, so actually, she was traveling to the U.S. So it was in California. So that's
Oh,
where I
oh, okay.
connect. So that's that happens, and then yeah, and then we meet in Denmark. Probably about 4 months later for the first time here, and then yeah, meeting her family and meeting all the kind of crazy things. So it was like thrown right into the thick of things. Day one in Denmark was crazy, and yeah, and then I really, after exploring the country a bit and learning about the ecosystem and the startups and things that were happening out here, it really resonated with me. So I ended up getting a job at a startup out here instead.
Okay.
And yeah, and then I've been a part of the Danish startup scene since I arrived, basically. So.
Yeah. So, how does the Danish startup scene compare to what the community you were working in Silicon Valley? I'd be very curious to hear more about that.
Yeah, so I would say that it's definitely I would say that if you're a first time founder or you're a founder who doesn't come from an Ivy League school or have a small loan of $1 million from your dad to kind of help get you started, um, Silicon Valley is a very difficult place to exist. It's really hard to cut through the noise and the traffic. And then on top of that, it's very driven by money and driven by 80-hour work weeks and pushing yourself to the limits and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's a whole different universe than I think where even a lot of the USA is like living and operating at. And Denmark is almost like the exact inverse of this whole thing, right? So
Right.
they are total work-life balance. Like everybody's out of the office by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and if you're staying late, you're weird, and you should go home and spend time with your family. Like whatever. And then on top of that, the motivations for people are much different. It's not about the money; it's about purpose, and it's about really having, and it comes from a level of comfort that I think they just have out here that is a little bit. I think sometimes most people take it for granted out here. They don't even know how good it is that they have it. But because of that comfort, they're able to just relax and work on things that they really want to work on and care about. That's kind of what startups are supposed to be about for me, is that you can work on the things that you're passionate about and kind of love your job. And so even the normal jobs out here are like startup jobs in the US, I feel. And then when you go into the startup scene, I think they're much more focused on creating companies that are about impact and about like clean tech, about the med tech, industries that are genuinely trying to make the world a better place and not just make a quick dollar. And I think that the companies and the people who run them and stuff like that have been much more authentic and things, and an ecosystem that I wanted to be a part of. Kind of as soon as I learned more about it.
Yeah, sounds pretty intriguing to me, or really would draw me in. That's the kind of community I would appreciate. I know I am kind of in like the hustle hard phase though, for sure. But I totally respect the work life balance. Like I'm someone who wants to work a lot, but if I had employees working for the company, I'd want them to work like get off at 4 o'clock or work like a 30-hour week, because not everyone is like the crazy entrepreneur like want to work all the time, but people do want to be involved in meaningful projects. Before we get into talking about Worthmore, I as we were discussing before the podcast, I did move to Europe for 6 months after I graduated, and I'm curious how the visa situation worked, how you were able to stay in Denmark as an American, because I couldn't nobody wanted me. They wanted to send me back, send the American back home.
Exactly. I mean, they keep trying to send me back home every 2 years. So I'm on a very special I'm on a very special visa out here in Denmark called the Startup Denmark visa, and I actually write a lot about this on my LinkedIn.
Oh,
I'm a consultant for this visa. So the Startup Denmark visa essentially allows people from outside the EU to move to Denmark and launch and run their business and get a visa to do so. So I moved out here on this visa, and then it was so difficult to get that I actually ended up sort of building a side hustle around helping people move here on the visa and land in Denmark in a safe
that's
way
awesome.
and a comfortable way. So yeah, I mean, I just wrote about it once on LinkedIn, like had an article and that I kind of typed up, and then it sort of went, I'd say semi-viral. So now if you Google like Startup Denmark visa or whatever, my name is on the first like page of results. Like this is how and why to get the Startup Denmark visa. And I think that that really allowed me to yeah kind of work and operate here as long as I have. So now I've been out here almost 7 years, and I've been on that visa the entire time. However, it's a very difficult visa. You know, you have to getting a business or getting a startup to run for 7 years is like that's a feat in itself. You know, you have to
Totally.
really want to live in Denmark. You want to really have to fight to stay here. You know, all your paperwork's going to come to you in Danish. You need to learn Danish. You know, there's so many things. So I don't recommend it unless you genuinely have a passion for being in the country, because it's like playing the startup game on level 12, and playing the startup game is already playing
Right.
life on expert. So so you just make it more difficult for
Agreed.
yourself, right? So, yeah, but I love it. I love the whole part.
There's no fight too hard for love, clearly, and that seems to be what motivates you in both your business life and personal. So I highly respect it, man. I think that's awesome. Like you're out
Thank
there
you.
living the
Thank you.
dream. And it would appear that you've always been interested in telecoms, like the telecoms industry, since you were like in your youth working, right? It's just something that you've always been wanting to be a part of. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't think about it until recently, but yeah, I mean, it's been slowly increasing more and more. I think the smartphone was such a device that yeah, inspired me in my youth. I remember like reading about the first iPhone and being like, this is going to change everything, and nobody really getting it at that point. It was like a year before the iPhone even came out. I was like, no, like you're gonna have like a computer in your pocket, and and that's gonna be really really cool. Like you don't get it yet, and I think it's only evolved from there to be what it is. But yeah, this opportunity to kind of connect people in a new and unique way, and to experience collectively things, and how this device like enables that, I think is makes it such a cool piece of our generation. I think we're going to look back
Totally.
on smartphones and tech in 20, 50 years and be like, that was like the car coming out in the early 1900s, cars and airplanes and stuff. So like the smartphone is going to be the thing that was just like kind of ancient in 50 years, but that was such an integral part of that generation's journey. So
Definitely. So, what can you tell me about greenhouse gas emissions that are generated by the telecoms industry?
yeah, I mean, I could tell you a lot. We could use up 1 hour podcast probably just on that, but I can tell you one of the things that's most interesting about it is how little everyone knows about it, and how big of an impact it actually has on, in my opinion, on the climate crisis that we're facing. And you start to see that like the data points haven't really been connected properly in some ways, right? So for instance, there's some really in-depth studies from highly qualified climate scientists that are saying a Google search, it takes zero point 0.2 grams per Google search of CO2 emissions. And that doesn't sound like a lot until you say like, let's see here,
That is
Google
no, that's a lot.
searches.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So every day in Google searches, there's like 150 million Google searches per day, or something like this, or 150 billion, something like that. I know it calculates down to about 1 million tons of CO2 just on like Google searches per day. And then that's not even like once you search for something. Of course, you click through to whatever you searched for, and you view that website, and you scroll on it, and you load the images, and and all this kind of thing, right? And so you start to understand like just our Google search traffic accounts for this huge chunk of CO2 emissions. Um, There's this one article that like did in-depth research onto YouTube, and there was like this one YouTube video, Despacito by Justin Bieber, right? Um,
Right, right,
been
right.
streamed at that time. It was like 5.5 billion times or something like this. But this one video's CO2 emission was the same as 7 countries from Africa produce in 1 year. And you're just like you're looking at that like side by side. So like this one video, and then you start to look at how many videos are uploaded every day to YouTube. This video call that we're having right now, um, all these actions
Mm-hmm.
that we take, they come out with a carbon footprint of this call will take 23 grams of CO2, something like this. But you
Right.
know there's millions of people doing this right now at this exact moment, and times that per day, per month, per year, and you start to see like, okay, this is something that we should start looking into, at least having a conversation about. So that's what we try to do a little bit with my company right now. Is it's not also only that, but just to make people more aware of the impact technology and its production is basically having on the planet and how we can use it in slightly more responsible ways.
Definitely. So, I mean, I feel like going about it in the way of like decarbonizing data centers would be the way to fix that. As soon as you brought up Google, I'm thinking YouTube. And then when I start thinking YouTube, that's like the behemoth. But even like Netflix streaming, that's like terabytes of data, probably just in one city every single day. And that's, yeah, I mean, people don't really understand how that works. Is it like data centers that are powered by different things? Is that where we would kind of focus if we wanted to fix that? Am I right or no?
Yes and no. I mean, like right now, what's happening is that like they are getting offset. So a lot of the companies are trying to start offsetting programs where they, plant a tree, do X, Y, Z kind of
Google's
thing,
doing
right?
that.
Yeah. So Google's doing that. The problem comes in by them not being very transparent about, um, I would say, how that all translates. And this is like one, the use is like one aspect of it. But I think where we can also make some pretty big impacts is by helping people understand their individual impact and reduce it and reward them for reducing it, for instance. So, if last week you used or last month you used 20 gigabytes of data, and you can see where you use that data and how, and, you can optimize your apps. You can kind of take a few seconds and just like, your emails don't, uh, try to refresh and get your emails and pull them every 5 minutes, but it does it every hour or every 3 hours. And if everybody did that, that would have a huge difference, right? But nobody's thinking like, oh, I'm making this impact by getting my
Right.
emails every 2 minutes exactly. So there's like small things that I think also that we can, it's kind of like turning off the light switch. It's like, yeah, of course we can try to have green energy and green power, but we should still turn off the lights when we leave the house, right?
Hmm.
And that makes a big difference on even the strain on those systems if we try to switch them over to green energy or things like this. And so I see there's like, of course, yeah, we need to fix it at the source, but yeah, I think the habit changes also would make a quite a big difference.
Sure. And then if you look at your screen time and see that you were on Instagram for 3.5 hours today, you might consider maybe not doing that if you don't think it's like super beneficial to your life. But that's up to
Yeah,
each individual. So, where did the
exactly.
idea for Worthmore come from? And then how does the company work?
Yes, I don't think I actually introduced Worthmore yet, so I'll kind of rewind that a little bit. But so
Nope.
Worthmore
Totally.
started during the 2020 COVID pandemic. I basically my company crashed. I also had a breakup with that girl from Denmark, so it's like we were together for like 6 years, but still it was like everything kind of coming together at one point, right? We were just like, okay, what am I doing with my life here? Should I go back? Should I still do this entrepreneurship
Perfect.
thing? Should I get a normal job and just be normal for a little while? But of course, that was never going to happen. So I was like, I think that me as a person, I'm pretty good at bringing people together towards a common vision and, and help and building something like anything. And I was like, basically, I want to use my skill sets to build something that's worth more, that has like more purpose and more value behind it in this kind of thing. And the phrase worth more kept coming in. I was like, so I want to build worth more. Like that's the company name. And it just happened to be a free domain. So I think it started with this name, and then also the industry I was working in before, which was um, basically comparing all the different ways you could get rid of, sell, donate, recycle your used phones. So we had like an aggregator where you could say, I have a cracked screen iPhone 8. How much is it worth? And you'd see all the different companies that would buy it or what they would do with it and pick one. And then we were like an affiliate model to them. We got paid by those companies. Uh, COVID made that business model very difficult. It was like being a sky scanner during COVID, and being a sky scanner during COVID is not so
Hmm.
great. The planes aren't flying. That's basically what was happening with us. Is like nobody's doing anything. So we wanted to integrate this whole worth more concept into a, not throw it out entirely, but figure out how do we kind of shape it into a purpose driven thing. And what we did is we actually decided that one of the things is most people still weren't giving us their phones. I actually still had phones in my drawer, even though I built this service. And so I was like, why does that happen? Actually, like I know the problem, but I haven't used my own product. So what's going on? Um, and I found that I didn't really care about the little bit of cash. Like I'd rather maybe just have a backup or leave it in the drawer. Like so it's not that big of a deal. We decided to partner with a bunch of different charity organizations and then use their marketing and mission to kind of motivate people to pull the phones out of the drawer and do something. So the original version of Worthmore was that it was a buyback program where the charity would call you up and say, hey, you can actually make the world a greener place and give some money to our cause if you simply click this link and donate the used phones sitting in your drawer. So we had a bunch of people doing that where they would click the link and then we would process the phones. We would pay the charity the same amount that they would have gotten paid if the user had, say, given their phone into Swappy or given it into their telecom provider. Maybe the telecom would pay you, 50 euros for your phone or $50 for your phone. We would do the same, but that $50 would go to the charity instead. And then we, of course, would make money by fixing the devices and making them worth more, which tied in the whole story and the name and branding and everything. So that was working quite well. We did that for basically the majority of 2021, but it was very campaign driven. And, like we'd have a good campaign, then we'd sort of have to go to the next round and always be chasing someone. And I felt if I walked away from this right now, the whole company would die within like 2 months because like we were just always hustling to try to get the next check in. I wanted to fix that. So basically, in January of this year, we decided to work with a more subscription based model where we actually are building and developing the SIM cards that go inside of the phones as well and making it a whole full service telco. So instead of just being the place where you can donate your used phones, you can also now buy secondhand devices from us on subscription. So like refurbished phones with a 2-year warranty and things like this, but only secondhand ones. So we're kind of taking from the circular economy. And then you can also
Hmm.
power that phone with a SIM card that is calculating and offsetting the carbon emissions that you produce while you use it. So the idea is to be the most
Dope.
sustainable and the most sustainable and circular telecom provider um, that exists. From start to finish, providing a sort of end-to-end solution that allows people to kind of make an impact. And the tagline for Worthmore is connect with purpose. And the final part of this whole kind of journey is that we did some research and we found that actually people found it very hard to give to these organizations or decide which climate kind of focused things they wanted to support. So a portion of each person's bill between 20 and 60 Danish krona, which is about 2 to 10 euros, goes to an impact pool where each month the community votes on where they want to offset or make a difference in the world. So every month you get with your cell phone bill, you get the opportunity to vote on which kind of thing you want to see happen as a community, and then everybody's aggregated contribution gets split between the different things so that the bill for your phone is just driving positive change each and every month for the exact same price as you currently pay for your cell phone subscription here in Denmark. So that's our sort of zebra business model for purpose and profits, kind of connecting all these dots into one, I would say, vision of connecting with purpose.
Yeah, it's like one of the coolest things I've probably ever heard. I'm not gonna lie. It's
Thanks, man.
that
Thanks,
yeah,
man.
I mean the first model is what it was. It's interesting enough. It's good to reduce the waste stream, but this new model that you're working on is I'm just that's fantastic.
Yeah, I want to just like use that. Yeah, I just want to use that clip, like put it on LinkedIn later. Like that is the coolest
Bro,
idea.
clip
No,
out
but thank you, man. I appreciate
bro,
it.
clip out whatever you want, man. Clip out whatever you want, bro. I mean, I'll give you the 1080p thing. It's all yours. I do. Are you familiar with Simon Sinek's work at all? He's an American consultant
Yeah,
and influencer, or
yeah.
no?
Start with why kind of guy. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your why? What's guiding you to make these decisions to lead your business down this path?
Yeah, so I think that it's a very good question, but I think, I feel that I'm on a mission to prove that businesses can be for purpose and profit in a VC world. I think that, there's ways to basically make money and do good. And I want to be a role model and kind of, even further on down the line, be able to invest and kind of grow companies like this at scale. I think there's hundreds of different ways to find innovation within your business to basically drive change and see and make further impact than just your bottom line. So I think my why is really a lot tied into that, is helping support and grow and build these types of visions that hopefully grow and scale. I think the zebra can be more powerful than the unicorn, basically, and that's also what I really love about the Nordics, is that I feel it's sort of the home of the zebras. And it's
Hmm.
like a place that really could be fostering and breeding these types of companies at scale, much the way Silicon Valley does today. And I want to be kind of at that foundation level and pushing that kind of forward as what we stand for on this side of the water.
So when you say zebra, you're talking about a striped business that exists for both purpose and profit, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I think that there's such a unique, it's such a unique timing right now. We kind of talked a little bit before, I think it's kind of the renaissance of businesses understanding that they actually have a quite big
Hmm.
role in what the future looks like. And I think some businesses are doing it right now just because they feel they have to. But I do feel the startup businesses that we're going to start to see like coming out, the brand new guys. I think a lot of them are going to have this integrated into their DNA. I hope, and I think that's going to make a really big difference in the next like 10, 15 years as these kind of companies mature and grow and evolve into market leaders. We're going to see how much of a difference that can really make in a lot of different problems in the world, not just climate change.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can fix all of them personally, but I am the naive optimist. That is who I am. But we are seeing indicators all over the world of industry changing. Industry is really how we organize our lives. We all have jobs, or we live on the street and do nothing. Some people, but we all have jobs, and that's how we spend a really great majority of our time. That's how we organize our potential for innovation and creativity and create new things. And that's why I really, to be honest, one of the main reasons I focus on business oriented solutions is because I don't want to get into politics and telling people what to do. But the second reason is because I think it has a larger potential to really change the world. Like, people don't think about necessarily a presidential speech, at least in this day and age. They think about someone like Martin Luther King. And I suppose he wasn't really running a business per se, but we also think of people like Kanye West or Kendrick Lamar just dropped a new album and they say something really profound in their music, and that's their business. It's more culture, it's more freeing than government. But yeah, I can go in a
Yeah.
huge rabbit hole on that. I'm wondering, how does the carbon footprint for the phone calculation work? When you put the SIM card into the phone, how does it calculate the greenhouse gas impact of the device?
Yeah, basically right now the way it works is that if you kind of go into your phone and your settings, you can see which apps are using how much data and what yeah, how much screen time and stuff like this. We can tap into that through the app that we've built along with our SIM card and kind of add these two things together
Fantastic.
to create a sort of digital carbon footprint calculator automatically. So we kind of aggregate all of this, and then also what we want to do. I mean, this is still in the MVP phase, but we want to even showcase like which apps or which companies are doing green things, to help already. So, for instance, Google or Netflix or whatever, are they trying to take actions to offset their carbon emissions or things like this, and integrate that into our calculation of what is going on as well. Um, and really, the idea there is mostly just about transparency within this space. Like just like I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Cowspiracy, but it was like talking about the meat industry
I
and how
think
the
I
meat
have.
industry is impacting how the meat industry is impacting the planet and how bad beef is for like carbon emissions and this kind of thing. Um, and we want to be kind of like the cowspiracy for technology and for phones in some ways, where we're not trying to turn everybody overnight into climate activists, but we're just saying hey, turn off the light switch when you when you leave when you leave the house. This is the ways you can do very simple actions on your phone to reduce your emissions by like 40%. And if everybody does that,
Wow.
and everybody has a phone, you can like overnight, like without doing very much, make a difference. And I think a lot of people want to do that. They just don't have the information or the knowledge to even take those first steps. So that's kind of, I think, one of our missions is that, and then tying that into not just the doomsday scenario, but actual action through the impact pool is something that that I'm personally quite excited to see like grow and scale, and something I'm happy to build and a legacy that I want to leave behind. So
Yeah. Well, you're getting me excited over here too, man. I mean, people don't even realize Um, I mean, they're probably producing emissions in their sleep as their email app is automatically set to refresh all night long, and their texts and everything when
exactly,
it's just unnecessary. And the more you can automate that process, like nobody's gonna care if their emails don't come in at night, but as soon as they wake up, it refreshes then. So they're, how I have like a do not disturb that goes on at 9:30 and
yeah,
turns off at 5 a.m. Like nobody's gonna care if their phone doesn't ring when they don't need it to ring. And then if that saves the planet, I think a lot of people will be into that. But the key is really making it as easy as possible for them and automating it so they don't even
exactly,
have to think about it. And that's one of the
exactly,
ideas behind my business is that you can do everything you would have done in your real estate transaction, and there's this extra bonus. You don't have to worry about the climate impact just by choosing your real estate agent through my company or whatever. So I am curious. I love the community model and the voting model for the projects, but are these projects more focused on offsets, or are they focused on decarbonizing different sectors in the economy? How are you choosing which projects to put into that
yeah.
pool for people to vote on?
So this is right now we've just got a few partnerships that we've built up. Like we're still in our early phase, but ideally what we want to do is that two things. The impact pool would not only be climate action. So this is one thing. We want to see like where do people actually want to drive positive change, and we think that can be in many different areas of people's lives. So that's why we even updated or kind of changed our tagline to connect with purpose, right? Because it was like whatever that purpose is, whatever you see or we as a community see needs support and resources, we should be kind of fixing that, and I think that makes it a little bit more flexible. And also voting on which companies get in, like putting companies forward, creating profiles that, the community wants to work with and has vetted themselves. We're just a small team right here, but if we feel, if we have thousands of subscribers who are the type of people who really, really care about this and their carbon footprint and want to, make all the right actions, um, having that opportunity to share and showcase and bring forward different projects and maybe even the pros and cons of different projects and make it, more informed decisions around what should and should not be supported. I think that's something that we really want to integrate into our product as it sort of evolves. So in the initial phases, it's just offsets. It's we're also looking into carbon soil capture. So it's like a little bit
Mhm.
more like I would say immediate or guaranteed in some ways. But there's a lot of things that of that part of the product that we know can and will be improved as we kind of grow and move along the chain.
So, have you ever heard of the website sellshark.com?
Cell Shark?
Sellshark, yeah.
No, no, I haven't heard of them.
So I don't know. I mean, God, wow, I graduated like almost 5 years ago now, but yeah, almost like five. Wow. And I had an old MacBook, and it like was really annoying. And I was able to go on sellshark.com and sell it. So I guess my question to you is like, and I had an old iPhone maybe 3 or 4 years ago where it was old, and I just brought it to the local King Soopers grocery store, put it in a machine and the machine gave me $20. So I wanted to ask you, how are you like the best place to sell your phone? And then what is like the competition for other people if they want to get rid of their old devices? What are the alternatives and how do you compare to them?
Yeah, so I mean, there's right now there's like thousands of ways of getting rid of your used phone. That's basically what my company was doing before, right? Was comparing, hey, there's a kiosk down the road you can drop your phone in and it gives you $20, or if you mail it in to these guys, they'll give you $35, or in our case, if you donate it, this $35 will go towards an organization you choose. So really, our kind of
Okay.
competitive angle or our difference is that we feel a lot of these devices, one, a majority of them aren't worth much to anything. So, it's motivating to go down to the kiosk if you're going to get 50, $100. It's not so much if you're going to get five. But a
Yeah.
charity getting a $5 donation times however many phones like that are lying around is quite a big impact. So that's, a kind of a niche where we take these phones that aren't really worth a lot, then of course we're one of the best places for that. To kind of make sure that those resources that are inside the phone are put back to good use and in the best way possible. So I think that is one area where the devices and the target devices that we're getting, nobody else is dealing with.
You're still
But when
buying
it
them
comes to
from consumers, right?
exactly, exactly. Well, we collect. We collect them. The consumer doesn't get any money, but the charity does. So that's the thing.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's
Okay.
and then when it comes to like more expensive devices and things like that, it really depends on the person's individual motivation. Were they going to make a donation to a charity? If it's a really expensive phone, we can offset, like give them certificate of the donated amount so they can kind of offset their taxes or whatever. So there's a lot of different things. But the main thing is that when you work through us, it's going to donation or a good cause, and for the exact same amount that the other companies would have paid you. So you, of course, could
Hmm.
say, yeah, I could have donated it myself, but not really, because then you would have had to sell it and take the cash, and then take the cash and donate it to the charity, and that kind of process
Right.
is automated. And then when it comes to also our go-to-market strategy and how we reach out to people and things like this, again, the big thing was that while people can go down to the kiosk down the street and and turn it in, the majority of people don't. They have their old phones lying in their drawer and they just don't really care to take that time. Our go-to-market and kind of distribution channel was that the charity called you up and reminded you and said, "Hey, like you've already donated money to us last month. This month we're doing a campaign to save the planet and contribute to our cause again. If you have old phones lying around, it's as simple as clicking this link and getting the envelope and converting that phone into money for us. So if you'd like to do that, like and I think that was like a really big difference because all of a sudden, you that phone wasn't $20 wasted in the drawer anymore. That phone was, food for a child for a month or something like that. And then it becomes a little bit different motivating factor as to why you should even care about, you know, taking that out and doing something about it in the first place. Um, and so making that process as simple and easy and kind of changing the motivations from a little bit of money to driving positive change is really our angle in the space. And we don't really see a competitor um, right now, anyway,
Okay.
that does what we do.
Right. So for this new product that you're offering, do these can anyone use these SIM cards, or does it have to be used on used phones?
No, anybody can use these SIM cards. They can be put into any device that takes a SIM card. So, but which is
Right.
most of them. But yeah, we only sell through our website secondhand phones as a part of our
Okay, I
mission and
understand.
agenda. But yeah, if you have a phone that you already have, you can just swap the SIM cards out and hop on the Worthmore network. We can also move your number over for free and stuff like that. Like all the things that a big telco can do, we can do for you.
Okay, so I was on Verizon for many years, and recently I went to the Xfinity store, who is the internet provider for Boulder, Colorado, in my house. We're on Xfinity internet right now, and they convinced me to switch to their mobile service because they use the same cell towers as Verizon, so I get the same service, but it's provided by Xfinity. So who is providing your cell service with Worthmore?
Yeah, yeah. So right now we're actually in the U.S. We won't be operational yet for a little while, but it's a very similar
Right.
model. We work with something called Telenor in Denmark. It's like the Verizon of
Hmm.
Denmark and Sweden and this kind of area.
Awesome,
So
man.
so So we use their same exact towers. We have the same exact service. Yeah, we have no limitations on that. And also we're putting together in Europe. I don't know, like maybe when you were over here, you got like a Labara or like a mobile card. I don't know if maybe you signed up for one of those when you were here, but
Vodafone,
uh,
Vodafone.
yeah, Vodafone, exactly. Like, one of these SIMs you just buy from the store and pop in the phone, and then you have a number. Um, it will be much like that. The only difference is that like most of those guys, they only have like roaming data when you travel outside of the country you're in. One unique part about us as well is that we're pushing ourselves much closer to the full service telco. You can call, text, use data from other countries and things like this seamlessly. And we're able to do that because we bill ourselves as a little bit more premium product. Um,
Hmm.
all the other early providers are fighting, or like SIM cards, they're called MVNOs, mobile virtual network operators. They really are competing on price and price alone right now, and trying to add like small amounts of
Yep.
service or these kind of things. We placed ourselves much more premium on the market than others, and that'll be interesting to see how that plays out as we kind of grow our pricing structure down the line.
And where are you providing coverage at the moment?
So right now, we plan to launch in both Denmark and Sweden by
Okay.
this summer. So the first SIM cards are actually supposed to go out this hopefully on my birthday, which is July 18th. I want to have like a
Nice.
party where I put my SIM card in my phone, and I'm just like, we're live. That's my
Aw-
goal at the moment. So
Awesome.
we'll see how that goes.
Definitely. So how's everything else coming along? So you sounds like you have a pretty intense launch coming up in the summer. So what does your day to day look like? How's everything been evolving? So it sounds like you're in the middle of a decent pivot to a really a more a model that's more intriguing to me at the very least, and I think it has a lot larger potential for impact. So
Yeah.
how's it going?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's startups, right? So you go through all these kind of things and trying to figure out, like, I feel like I'm building the airplane on the way down. When, we went into this mission back in January, it was like, we're nearing the end of our sort of runway. We're kind of looking at how do we, we're making money in like little chunks, but it's not really enough to say like we're a successful business. And then we're looking at like, okay, what do we do? Let's build a SIM card. And if I remember telling my investors and my team and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, we're gonna build a telco now. Like how are you even gonna? What is the first step in that, right?
How big is the team?
So right now we are three full-time people and a couple of interns as well. So it's
Awesome.
yeah, that's a lot of fun. But yeah, so and at that point it was just me and my CTO back in January when we were kind of doing this, and of course my investors and the partners and stuff like that. But yeah, we've kind of I would say it's funny how fast things have moved and progressed with a very small budget and sort of a let's call it like like I said, building the airplane on the way down, being like, yeah, it's just gonna work. Of course it'll work. Like, and that's just I think that's just the startup
Agreed.
journey a lot of times. So my day to day is convincing everybody it's going to work.
Yeah, I'm convinced. As like I said, small business, small team, small budget, endless amount of heart, man. It
Yeah,
could take you. It could take you to the moon and back. No way
exactly,
around that.
exactly.
How are you using what you've learned from your work at previous startups to increase your efficiency and likelihood of success?
I think a big part of it is understanding the what actually matters towards making a business versus making a good idea. I think this is like I've had a lot of good ideas that weren't necessarily good businesses. And I think that learnings have kind of translated into what do we actually need? How do we, for instance, how do you build something that has predictable monthly recurring revenue? How do you, which types of business models work and why? Why do investors love B2B and subscription things and SaaS? Well, it's because it's like it's a good business, like, and if you can attach a good idea to a good business, then even better, right? But even bad ideas with the good business models, like, are more successful than good ideas with bad business models. So I think I've been learning a lot about that and trying to figure out how to build business models into my good ideas, and that's kind of what Worthmore has sort of evolved into, I would say, over the course of this last year and a half.
It's definitely a challenge. So, how many people have signed up so far, and why? Why do you think people are signing up?
Yeah. So we have about 2,800 people on our mailing list for when the SIM cards go live. So it's pretty good, especially since we have that's organic. We haven't done actually any paid marketing or advertising. And I think a big part of it is that actually it's the people who were coming from the charities. So the partner organizations we have and the people who have already donated phones to us and wanted to kind of be continue to be a part of our journey and our growth. And the thing is if the bill is exactly the same price, but you're doing something better for the planet, much like you and your business, as you're saying, it's like it's going to be the same process. You're going to get the same service, you're going to get the same phone number, and nobody's going to know the difference. You're just going to know that each month, you're supporting positive actions, and that's done automatically for you. And yeah, and you want to kind of be a part of that community and driving those positive changes. So that's our target audience and our niche, and what we're really trying to go for is these people who want to make just small, easy, simple changes to make a quite big difference in as a group. We can drive some real crazy positive change, I hope.
Cool. Well, I think you're onto something big, man.
Thank you, I
I'd want
appreciate
to
it.
ask you before we sign off. Yeah, you got it, bro. If there's you think it's ever possible that we can bring mobile services or telecoms, I wanted to say fully carbon neutral, but maybe just very low carbon without the use of offsets. Is the technology capable of being low carbon?
I would say no at the moment. It takes an immense amount of power to do the things that we do on our devices, and even like if you were to be claiming that, you would be forgetting something along the supply chain. I feel, and I feel like everybody who claims to be carbon neutral is forgetting something along the supply chain. I mean, so I think that even if you want to say yeah, the chips were super 100 times more efficient than they are today. Even it's right. Okay, like then how did the chip get made? Was there a diesel truck taking the silicon from whatever mining factory over to make that chip happen? And then so I think if you yeah, no matter what, there's a lot of energy that goes into this industry, um, and it's very difficult to get a fully transparent picture over how the whole thing works. Um, and so we are very aware of that as well, and we try to claim to be, bringing at least our individual use to a transparent level from just the use standpoint. But even then, you look into the production of the devices, you look into charging your device, you look into your headphones that go with the device, like all these different kind of things, right? The Bluetooth connection between the two, all of this stuff. If you really want to dive into it, you can always find where energy is being created or destroyed. So it's a difficult one, but I think that we can make a very 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 big impact through uh, small simple changes. And I think a majority of people would want to do that, and I do think it should even start at the top with Apple and Android and this kind of things, making their software automatically do a lot of things that help this. But that call has to come from a place of informed consumers. And I think once
Hmm.
people know what's going on, that could be really cool. And a grand vision for Worthmore would be even to, let's say we are very successful and we scale, would be to create the device.
When you
Would
are,
be yeah, exactly, exactly. Thank you for that. So would be to create the
you
device.
got it.
Like there's device like Fairphone, there's device like this where you can kind of go into that area, and then let's live the childhood dream of designing the next iPhone, but it's the next phone that's worth more, the worth more one. And and kind of build into the full device the kind of taking full transparency and putting into what actually it takes to make this thing work and operate and be produced even. And I think that would be a very cool statement. And by then, maybe it's not even the smartphone, but whatever it is, like maybe it'd be really cool to, in general, make technology that we use more circular, more sustainable, and more easy to, and more transparent, I would say is the right word.
Yeah. Keep the dream going, man. Never stop. I like it. Bringing it back to the beginning of the conversation.
Bring it back to the
I can
beginning,
tell.
right? Like, yeah, exactly. That's the dream, right? So
Yeah. Well, just keep it going, man. I love the angle that you take. Coming from the heart. I think it's really important. I think it's going to sell a lot more to our generation than
yeah,
previous generations. I think people really do care more now. They want to make informed decisions with their dollars. And I did want to
yeah,
comment and say that just because something's using a lot of energy doesn't mean it has to be carbon intensive. That's kind of like the big challenge we're facing now is decarbonizing the energy system. And I think we will reach a point where we're producing clean energy, whether it's solar, wind, hydro, or what's it called? The crazy nuclear thing that they've been saying is going to be here in
yeah.
20 years, every 20 years.
Fusion,
Not,
yeah,
you know what I'm talking
fusion.
about? Yeah, fusion, or something we can't even think of, like turning pure love into energy. I don't know. But Tegan, you're the man. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Do you have any final pieces of advice for young folks who are passionate about building a better world?
Yeah, man. I think start by turning pure love into energy. That's a great one, man. Like, I mean, I think actually you
Boom,
can go
baby.
a lot of places with you can go a lot of places with a little bit of care. That's I think even where the phrase, like there's things money can't buy and things like this. I think just a little bit of that can actually take any kind of person looking to start their own business or entrepreneurial journey. Like start with caring, and you'll already have a currency that can take you so much further than just the first dollars in, and help you even find the first dollars to start your mission. Really make it a vision for everybody to enjoy. So that's my last piece of advice, I would say.
Totally. Well put, man. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and plenty of other Danish girls out there in the city who I'm sure would love to date an entrepreneur. So, yeah,
Thank you,
where are
man.
you? Are you in Copenhagen or somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm sitting in Copenhagen now, so I'm actually in the office in Kongens
Okay,
Nytorp
cool.
area. So yeah,
Nice. Yeah. Plenty of opportunities out there. I'll have to come and visit one day. But Tegan, thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
yeah, no problem. Thank you. Have a good one.
You got it. All right, everybody. We'll see you soon. So if you or anyone else you know is looking to buy or sell a home anywhere in the USA and would like to create thousands of dollars in donations without any cost out of pocket, please visit ccrealty.org today.